This is Talk to Seattle, and I'm your host, Jason Rigden. On this episode, we have Starheadboy. How are you today?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much for coming on the show. Your art is just all over this city, so thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, man. Good times.
So how would you describe your art?
My art's like kind of like, I don't know, if somebody was first looking at it, probably be like bold line drawings. I kind of split it in half. I have like comic type characters, and then I have like a little bit more like lush, like usually animals with like paintings, but people would probably know it more just by like, it's pretty graphic and just like, yeah, bold lines, weird, like little characters, like kind of like mythical characters that come out of my head. They're usually like a hybrid of something, like a real animal, but yeah, kind of hard to describe. Know when you see it.
Yeah. I thought I'd get the hardest question out of the way first. So much of your art that I see is through stickers. Would you consider yourself a street artist?
Yeah, I'm like, it's definitely something that I really love to do. I devote most of my time to like drawing and writing throughout the day and painting. But stickers are definitely like, I never thought they would be that like when I was younger, but they're just like, they're definitely like an echo of everything else. As soon as I make some little character that I really like, it turns into a sticker, and then it gets its own little life out on the streets. It's definitely essential. It's super fun, or essential for me to do. It's super fun to get little things out in the world like that.
So you put up most of them yourself?
Yeah. I used to. Now there's like different places that carry them. Usually, like if somebody buys like a painting off my shop or buys a painting and I'm there, I usually give people a bunch of stickers, and their first instinct is like, oh, I'll get these up in my neighborhood, And I'm always like, yeah, keep a couple for yourself, like on your laptop or whatever. But people just like automatically are like, oh, like I just sent some to Montana, and the whole premise was, yeah, I want to decorate my town with these again, like I'd sent this girl stickers in the past, but it's just strange. People love stickers.
Yeah, there's a whole sticker subculture out there where people trade them and collect them. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's been going on for years. Like, I mean, probably over 10 years ago, I was on this site Flickr constantly, and there was this whole sticker trading group. I mean, I sent stickers, and people sent me them back from like India, all over the world, Afghanistan, like, yeah, it's crazy, the connections. It was just like a constant. Brazil has a huge thing. Like their addresses are so crazy. They have like degrees in their addresses and stuff. So I'd always just be like, okay, I'm going to like write this down exactly the way it is and then bring it to the post office, and hopefully it gets to where it's going. But yeah, and now like, I mean, the internet has just connected people so much. It's amazing.
Yeah, Instagram must be like a huge factor in your art of like being able to share it with people so easily.
Yeah. I was talking to my girlfriend about that the other day because everybody wants to brand their thing through Instagram. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but with like visual artists, like it's pretty easy because you're already doing the thing that is, like Instagram's that visual medium. It's exactly like Flickr was back in the day. It's just like a Flickr part 2, with nice enhancements. It's so much fun to like just get the photo of the thing, put it up, and get a response. It's like, I always find like it's the Flickr did this for me too. Like it really motivated me and got me like, you put your image up, and then people are like, oh, I like this guy. And maybe it's just some little character in the background. You're like, I never really paid attention to that guy. We'll put some more life into him, whatever. It was like this really like motivating critique all the time, to like, and it just gives you like a little extra fuel to keep doing that thing.
And you do have like these recurring characters like the Burrito Unicorn, and there's that sloth, and there's been a whole bunch of them in the past.
Yeah. Yeah, the Burrito Unicorn one is a really strange one. That one's been around for like 10 years now. I've been putting the missing flyers up, and the missing flyers have my phone number on it, so I never answer my phone.
Oh, they do. Okay.
Yeah, so like, if I get every once in a while, I'll just go through my voicemail. I'll have to delete a bunch or kind of save a couple. Like people get super creative. I've had like people say they're holding them for ransom, and I've had to do like make little paintings for them. And a guy made me a doll one time of it. Like it was I met up with him, and he was like, "Okay, here you go for this ransom of pixie dust I painted for him." Yeah, it's that character really has its own little timeline and little world. I always just say like, yeah, that one's like a really crazy side project.
Yeah, it seems like it's kind of taken on a life of its own. It's really amazing when people kind of pick it up and feel like they have some kind of part in it, sort of like when they're giving you these messages.
Yeah, yeah, and they definitely do have a part like it. All those street little characters that go out in the world. Lately, I've been getting a lot more correspondence with them. You know, people throughout my whole time of doing, especially putting stuff out on the streets, most of the stuff I never signed. You know, a lot of street artists have their name on the thing, but recently I started Post Alley and Pike Place Market has a free poster wall, and I've been like just going down there and putting stuff up with the actual signature on it, and now people are like, "Oh, this is the guy." So I've gotten a lot of emails of like a picture of somebody's tattoo. Like there's a lot of Burrito Unicorn tattoos out there, and my other characters like the this little penguin character, and people just will say like, "Oh, I've had this for 5 or 6 years, and I didn't know who did it." And yeah, it's every day the email is like more and more interesting.
Yeah, I think I saw some posts you did from Post Alley where you were kind of making fun of some of the taggers.
Oh yeah, that was like was an interesting some this one tagger. I just assumed it was some kid with a brand new pen. Just came down and targeted all my stuff one night, which is out of the ordinary for me because I'm always really respectful of like the street art rules. I don't go over anybody's stuff. A free wall down there is kind of different. Like it's only going to be temporary. But this guy definitely targeted all my stuff, and then I was like, okay, well, my mind immediately was like, here's a million different ways I can handle this. What's going to be the funnest, most creative way? So I just kept playing around with it. I made the posters that said, here's a spot for your boring tags, you know, like, oh, you have to tag this, you know, it's because the viewers get a lot out of them. Every time I go down to Post Alley during the day to get photos, there's always people that connect with them. So I'm like, yeah, it's kind of a bummer to get everything tagged right through the middle. So, but I'm like, I don't go into those traditional like beefs that everyone gets into. I'm like, I'll figure out a way to make it interesting and fun, you know?
Yeah, I liked it a lot. And also, I mean, I feel like I've noticed that some really bad taggers have been targeting other street art a lot, at least around Capitol Hill. It's been very disappointing to me. So I was amused by your kind of response and really appreciated it.
Yeah. 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 That one was, yeah, it was pretty fun. It was just, every day I was thinking like, okay, well, if this dude comes back and does more, then I got this thing next or that thing next. And they just kind of had the one shot and then never really did anything after that. So still up in there, I guess.
So how did you get started making art?
I've been drawing all my life. Ever since I was a little kid, just, it was like the strangest like compulsion and habit. It got me all through school, you know, like when we're supposed to be taking notes, I would just be drawing the whole time. I had all my buddies were artists. It kind of almost felt like everyone I grew up with was drawing and were artists, and it just seemed like this natural thing, and I just kept going with it. And then there was like graduated and still kept doing it all the time and got into painting, like probably later than most people, but I was always kind of scared of it. And this one day I had a friend who, all my friends from high school were kind of like skaters and punks. We go to punk rock shows and stuff. I had a friend who stole a bunch of canvases from school and paint, and he painted them all up. And I go over to his house, and he had these Picasso-esque paintings all over the place. I'm like, oh, I want to do this someday, you know, but I was always kind of scared. And then when I was like 20, I went to the art store, got a bunch of canvases and paint, and just went for it. And it was like immediately addictive. I was addicted. I just spent like 8 hours a day just painting. It was crazy. And then, yeah, it's like, and it's still right now, like I devote most of my day to creating stuff, and I have a part-time job, but even when I'm there, like the storylines for comics are in my head, and I have a sketchbook. Like, it's just saturated into the fabric of my life. It's yeah, it's still a really fun habit, you know. So it's probably it's a good addictive habit for me.
And how has your style evolved over time?
It's my style's kind of weird. It evolved through a series of like mistakes. You know, I'd work on a painting and then something would happen and it wouldn't look the way that I wanted it to, like maybe one little part of the painting. And I learned this technique early on, where if you're unsatisfied with a painting, you put it face to the wall and then maybe look at it a couple months from then. I started doing that, and I started realizing the mistakes were the things I liked the most, and I build off that. So it just kind of led me down the road that way. So everything was simple line drawings in the beginning, and they still are, but they'll kind of bounce back and forth. Like, I'll do a character, and then it'll kind of evolve. Like, usually, especially color-wise, that's the thing that gets the most. That has the most evolution in it. My use of color. It just different ways to lay it down. But like the simple line characters, I find myself going through old sketchbooks now and still pulling out the old ones, and just they're like I did them yesterday, you know. And I'll add a couple things, and then this new little guy will have a life. But that's it. Probably the most evolution is storytelling aspect. Most of them are getting their own comics and lives, you know, out there, kind of like the Burrito Unicorn did. So people see the one little guy, and then I'm like, hey, he has a bunch of weird things he likes, you know?
And it seems like you use a number of different kinds of mediums for your art. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Oh, yeah, I've always kind of had that idea in my head. Early on, it was like, it was this idea of like, I never wanted to be just known for the one thing, you know, like an acrylic painter or whatever. And I just kept pushing it and expanding it. So I did some ceramics of characters for a while. I started doing different sculptures. I did a whole series of wood sculptures that I'm getting back into, and I'm dabbling a bunch in animation. I want to put out maybe a show of like animated characters. I did photography for a little bit. And all of the stuff kind of comes back and swirls around the little world. So it all is just becomes like a piece of this long storyline. It's like some of the artwork that I have, especially from the past, is much more serious, but it still weaves its way in and out of like the more whimsical and lighthearted stuff. So it just bounces back and forth.
Do you think that Seattle is a good city for artists?
Yeah, I think it's from all the interactions that I know of, I think it's a great city for artists. I grew up in the suburbs outside of Seattle, like Kent and Federal Way area. And suburbs are like, my parents still live there. And when I go, it's only half an hour away from the city, but it's weird the way that their arts and culture are starting to come up, but it takes so long. You get to the city and everything. Like I used to go to punk rock shows in high school. We would drive down into Seattle and go to like all ages clubs. Like it's just, the city is just so vibrant with it. It's and every artist that I've met that's kind of on the outskirts, I'm like, just spend some time in Seattle. I lived on Capitol Hill for a while. I'm like, I lived on Capitol Hill for 5 years. I was like, it was like the best 5 years of my life almost, you know, like it was so much fun being immersed in it. Now I live in Burrito because I'm got gentrified out and all that. But yeah, like that. Yeah, yeah, the city is like, it's just full of inspiration. I think it's great for artists. There's so many great artists out there right now just doing it. It's awesome.
So where can people buy your artwork?
My artwork right now has kind of a permanent home at Robot versus Sloth on First Avenue. It's First and Pike. And is that First and Pine? They're right on the corner, and they're this quirky little store that carries all this art, and my stuff's in there is like Burrito Unicorn manuals, stickers, paintings. I have my Etsy shop that's just Etsy /shop/Starheadboy. You just go to starheadboy.com to get to that. And then I just have shows around the city wherever I can. It used to be I was just hustling it, finding places to show. Now mostly all those relationships, either the people would just email me, hey, do you want another show here or there? Like I put one up yesterday at Black Sea Cantina in Burrito, and I have one in Ballard at Kiss Cafe. But it's usually I have about 4 to 5 shows up a month, and then I just update them on Instagram. So just going through my Instagram, they'll just see, oh, showing here or Tacoma, anywhere in between.
So that'd be the best place if people want to follow or learn more. Is Instagram kind of like your central nexus place?
Yeah, I love Instagram. I try to update it. I used to update it every day. Now, every once in a while, a day will go by. But yeah, that's definitely like that visual journal. Just, this is what I'm doing right now. There's always something going on. Now, every once in a while, I'll just backlog stuff because it's just, I'm like, I don't want to like oversaturate people's feeds or whatever. But yeah, Instagram is definitely the daily thing.
Well, I love your Instagram, and thank you so much for coming on the show tonight.
Yeah, thank you. It was awesome.
Thank you for listening to Talk to Seattle. I've been your host, Jason Rigden. If you want to support the show, please go to talktoseattle.com/support. Thanks for listening.